Hello everybody, welcome back. This is part 2 of today's video, April 28th of 2020. We're on page 96 of your student book, which is unit 8, and it's about work. We're going to do lesson A, listening together. So once again, we're on page 96 of your student handbook, or student book, sorry, which is in unit 8 called work, and we're going to do lesson A together. So in part one video, we talked about jobs and occupations, right? So we know the nurses, uh, manager, lawyers, engineer. There are a variety of jobs and occupations. So um, remembering that, that was a warm up. So now we're gonna do these exercises related to work. So now let's do exercise one together. So exercise one, before you listen, A. Look at the picture. What do you see? B. Point to a server, a bus person, a cashier, a cook, an electrician, a nurse, a nursing assistant, a construction worker. So as you can see, these are names of occupations that you can have, or in this picture. Okay. So let's try to match them. So just by looking at the picture, we can see that we're at a restaurant because there are people sitting on a table. Um, there are uh, people cooking, uh, paying money, and then here, specials, half sandwich soup drink. So they're selling food, so it has to be a restaurant now. So they're at a restaurant, and now let's try to match these occupations. So first we have a server. Server. And then if we look at here, we can see that there are two servers. One here, and then another one right here. So servers are similar to um, waiter or waitress. They take orders from a customer, and then they bring the food or items that the customers require. Okay, they take order, and then they have to give the what kind of food they order to the cook. Um, cook, a cook is, I'm gonna do this way, is right. Oh, oh, that was bad. Sorry about that. Hold on. So cook is here. See, they're cooking food. Um, we don't want to call them a chef here. I think this is a chef is more a high-level cook in a way. So these people are, I don't think we should consider them as a chef, but a cook is okay. So they're cooks. They're making meals for the customers or preparing food, and then um, a bus person. As I explained it before in part one, a bus person in America we call it a bus boy or bus girl. They're usually at a younger age. That's why we call them boy or girl. And they're the one who picks up leftover and then dishes and utensils to be cleaned. And you can see this guy right here. This guy is a bus boy. And then we have a cashier. Cashier, let's zoom out a little bit. Cashier's right here. This is a cashier. She's um, taking the money from a customer because they just finished eating. They have to pay for the meal. This is cashier. So as I said before, we're at a restaurant, and then the occupations that I just show, a server here, a bus person or a bus boy, a cashier, a cook. We have two cooks here. They're typical occupation at a restaurant. Okay, so they're restaurant related jobs. So now let's look at other people. So now we have an electrician. So electrician is someone who deals with outlets, electric outlets. Um, and here we see a guy fixing a light bulb, I think. Yep. So we call him an electrician. A nurse, everyone knows what a nurse is, right? So when we look at the clothes, you can see, I think, or I believe, this is a little bit hard because we have a nurse and a nursing assistant. So when I look at here, it's kind of hard to identify them as which one's a nurse and which one's nursing assistant. But I'm thinking this is a nurse. Nurse is right here. This person is a nurse because, and then this girl named Mai Lin, she's a nursing assistant, along with the guy that's sitting across. So here, so him and her, Mai. They're both nursing assistants because yeah. Based on their clothes, I think she's it seems like she's in the higher position, so we're gonna call her a nurse. And then finally, we have a construction worker. Okay, construction worker. So where do you see a construction worker? Construction worker. See, if you're a construction worker, if someone is a construction worker, we identify with their items or what they have on, right? So here we can see that there's this guy. Oh, that's let me do this. Construction worker. This guy is wearing a construction hat. So we can assume that he is a construction worker. See? So we identify people by what they're doing and what they're wearing for their job occupations. Okay, so that's an important thing to remember. Now that we're able to see the picture and kind of see what these people are doing. So here they're talking to each other. I think this nurse is actually giving advices to the nursing assistant. Here, a server, or we're going to call her a waitress, is taking orders from a customer. And here's a construction worker just talking to, I don't know, it could be his friend or a colleague, someone who works with them. And then there's a cashier taking money from the customer. And then electrician fixing a light bulb. A cook is cooking the meals for the customers. Okay, now we're going to the next page. Exercise 2, listen. Listen, write the letter of the conversation. So let's listen to the conversation first. And then after we listen to the conversation, I want you to pause the video and try to do this on your own. Do these exercises for exercise 2. And then after you're done, you can continue the video and then we'll go over it together. Okay, so let's first listen to the audio. So I'm going to play this.
Unit 8. Work. Page 97, exercises 2A and 2B. Track 21. Conversation A.
What does he do?
He's a manager at a restaurant.
Oh, really? What did he do before?
He was a cashier.
A cashier? When?
For a while. I think from 2012 to 2016.
Conversation B.
What does Irene do?
She's a nurse.
Oh, that's nice. What did she do before?
She was a cook.
A cook? When?
From 2016 to 2017.
Conversation C.
What does Brenda do?
She's a teacher.
Oh, that's great. What did she do before?
She was a server.
A server? When?
Last year, from about May to August.
Conversation D.
What does he do?
He's a bus person.
Oh, really? What did he do before?
He was a student
A student? When?
for about 6 months, from January to June.
Conversation E.
What does he do?
He's an electrician.
Oh, yeah? What did he do before?
He was a construction worker.
A construction worker? When?
I think it was in 2016.
Conversation F.
What does she do?
She's a doctor.
Oh, that's great. What did she do before?
She was a medical student.
A medical student? When?
I'm not sure, but I think at least 15 years ago.
Okay, so that was the end of the audio. So pause the video and then try to work it on your own and then resume the video once you're done. Okay? So, okay. For me, I think everyone's done. So let's go over this. So as I listen to the conversation, each conversation, they were talking about what they did in the past and what they're doing right now. So their jobs or occupation in the past and the present. Okay. So for, I believe it was for number one, it was conversation E. Conversation E. E. For number two, it was conversation C. For number three, it was conversation D. Number four is A. Number five, conversation, it was F. Okay. Hold on a second. I don't know why it's not working here. F. And finally, for number six, it was conversation B. I think that was it. So going back to, so if we look at number one, we see a picture. Based on this picture, what do you see? What is his job occupation? Based on the picture, we can just see that he's a construction worker. However, in the conversation, it was he was a construction worker, but now he's actually an electrician. That's what I heard from the conversation. I hope you can catch that. So, oh, here, let me do this. So, here. So right now, even though he's wearing a construction worker clothes, he was a, oh, sorry, let me fix this. So he was a construction worker in the past. So he was a construction worker, but now he is an electrician. Okay. second, sorry. Okay. It's just not working. Oh. Okay, I'm just gonna erase this. So I'm gonna erase this. Okay. So now for number 2, from the conversation, she is a teacher now, but before she was a server. So she was a waitress. So I wrote this down. So she was a server in the past. So server is a female, so we can say a waitress. And this is she's a teacher now. Here we see a picture of a person who's like cleaning the table, and we can see that it's a bus boy. But from the conversation, I heard that he was a student. So he's a bus or a bus person, but he was a student in the past. Okay. And here, number 4 was conversation A. He is a manager now, but previously he was a cashier. So he's a manager at a restaurant based on the picture, but he was a cashier in the past. That's what he said in the conversation, or that's what it was in the conversation. Yes. And here, conversation F. It was she is so here she's a doctor now, but in the past she was a medical student. Oh, I think I messed this up. Hold on a second. So I believe actually this is here. Oh, yeah, I messed this up. Sorry about that. Yeah, so she's a doctor now, but she was a medical student in the past. And you can see that from the picture here. Oh, so here. So the conversation, as you saw in the answer, what I wrote down, she's a nurse now, but she was a cook in the past. So as I said before, when you're having a conversation and then when people ask you about what was your job in the past, so what are you doing right now? What's your occupation? Now this is when you say, I was a cook, but now I'm a nurse. That's how you want to go with it. So, and then we're based on looking at what they're wearing and where they are, we can kind of identify what their job occupation is. Okay, now let's do exercise 2B. So for A, it was from 2012 to 2016. And then for number 2, B, I believe it was 2016 to 2017. So 2016 to 2017. And then you can listen to the audio again if you want, just to practice hearing, and practice listening. And for C, it was May to August. May to August. And if you notice, the from to is a proposition of time that we learned in, I believe it was Unit 6. So from when it starts to when it ends. For conversation D, it was January. I'm gonna write in a shortened form, so JAN like that, and June. And conversation E, it was in 2016. And conversation was medical student 15 years ago. Okay. All right. So exercise 3. After you listen, where do the people work? Write the words. So I talked about the jobs and occupations depending on where you are. So if we look at these words, bus person, cashier, doctor, nurse, receptionist. A receptionist is a person who takes what's it called? Like reservations or schedule, right? So here a bus person. I'm not gonna write it here, but I'm gonna put it. So bus person is someone usually at a restaurant. So that's number 4 here. Server is also someone at a restaurant who takes orders from a customer and bring them food. And finally, cashier. After you're done eating, you have to go to a cashier to pay for the meal. So bus person, cashier, and server is an occupation or job that you would have in a restaurant. And in the hospital setting, you have doctor, you have nurse. Nurses help doctor to do operation or surgery, and then we have receptionist. You have to make an appointment or schedule an appointment to meet with a doctor because doctor is a very busy person, so you need a receptionist. So this is it for part 2 of today's video. Thanks for watching.